Sup. We'll get started here in just a minute. I like that jam. Might have to play that again. Oh, don't be shy. Say hi. It's Thursday. Bitcoin's dumping. People are freaking out. Figured it was a good time to do a little inventory. It's been a while since I've even done a show. That's all right. These beats are brought to you by Dilemma Beats, our very own Goldman Sachs beats extraordinaire. So follow him on Twitter if you're not, at Dilemma Beats. Let's take a look at some of this nonsense, shall we? Excuse me. Again, this is a completely informal format, so feel free to jump on, ask questions. If there's something you want to chart of, I'd be happy to look at it. Something you want to chat about or just look at. If you just want to say hi, don't be shy. As you no doubt have guessed, I am Biff, your host for this crazy ass show. And I am kind of going through a transition with where I'm going to do this from studio and office, and have just been insanely busy with all kinds of other stuff too. So we're probably just going to do updates right now as needed. And there's still a ton of stuff that I want to get captured and do a lot more video blogging about all of the stuff that I've been involved in, not just crypto stuff, but racing and things that I enjoy. So it's a it's a marathon, not a race. But I figured it was time to get some vlogging done, at least looking at Bitcoin charts and some of these cryptocurrencies and altcoins and things that I've been messing with, like Eng and Ethereum's obviously had a good run since our last show was like over a month ago, or the last time I did one of these anyway. Bitcoin was still, in the 7K range here. I've been looking at this chart, obviously, with this GAN fan, just kind of watching these ranges. These are Fibonacci ranges, but that's like more of a retrace thing. But the fan's kind of been showing these channels that have been holding up pretty good. And we're kind of testing one right now, right? Bitcoin made a pretty steep dump yesterday. Price action has definitely changed, right? So that's why we take notice. And the last few days probably would have been a good time to, if you're swing trading or maybe temporarily long, last few days probably would have been a good time to wrap up some of that stuff, take risk off, just kind of watch. Because clearly, we've topped out at 10.5 here on Bitcoin. And there's some different price action we're looking at now, right? Now, does that mean it's the end all be all? This is the dump, this is what you get, we're going to 1500 or whatever. You get caught up on that noise on Twitter. It becomes very difficult to breathe sometimes. And I've actually found that since I've got away from a lot of that noise in the last few years and just kind of come into my own and found my own strategies and developed my own theories and quite honestly, paid attention to things that I care about, I've done much better on not only my decision making, but just, crypto trading in general. And, again, I make this disclaimer. I'm not an advisor. Cryptocurrency is more of a hobby and, a passion of mine. I like a lot of cool things involved with Bitcoin and the crypto space, but I'm not over leveraged. I don't lose sleep at night because I'm, down today because these markets look bad, right? If you're in that kind of situation right now, there's probably a good chance that you're over leveraged, right? And that's just no way to live, guys. And all the Goldman Sachs crew is always gonna, preach responsible finance. I have a, very traditional domestic investment portfolio as well. So, this is just another part of my overall investment portfolio is kind of the way I consider it. And quite honestly, I mean, if you're new to it or you're not, Bitcoin cryptocurrency is just fun. It's exciting. It doesn't mean you're going to get rich, because obviously, getting rich quick, if you're in cryptocurrency for that, good luck to you. But at the same token, there's no question about it that there are opportunities. Whether or not you're long term or short term, whether or not you're trading, what your time frames are, what your spectrum is, what you're actually doing, all of that is very different. And before we get into some of the nitty gritty of some of these charts and stuff, I just want to kind of take a step back, right? So I've had a very good year, just longing, and trading in and out of things like Ethereum and Engine. And I haven't really had a need to go beyond that. And I've executed very few trades since, we were down here in the 6Ks and we were talking about buying a little spot Bitcoin. And, I used some of those gains to roll into other things and branched out, but I took profits along the way. So, and I'm not even trading on an exchange anymore, guys. That's what's really been weird about this. I've literally, anything that I've been swing trading between altcoins and Ethereum, it's been completely separate from my Bitcoin or anything that's going on with BitMEX or anything I have associated with Bitcoin or automated trading or even my spot bag that I'm just holding. That is completely aside from, swing trading altcoins and Ethereum for US dollars, which is, a completely separate realm of trading, in my opinion. Now, everyone, again, has their own opinions or certain ways they like to look at things or do things. But that's the way I look at it. I know some other people kind of look at it that way. And you know, what's in my USD swing bag, if you want to call it, I will literally liquidate right now if I think it's time to get out. And you know, you just have to have that, you know, I don't want to say like reckless abandon when it comes to that, but you definitely don't owe an altcoin anything. You don't own any of these things. You know, you don't owe any of these things anything, right? Use them as vehicles. If they're temporary, then treat them as such, right? And most of these kind of should be, at least short term, right? If you know you're in a situation like you probably were if you're holding some of these yesterday where everything's way up, you know, maybe take 10-15% off the top, right? Because now you'd be holding it today, right? And then you could say, well, you know what, I'm going to go buy an ENG that's now, you know, down 10, 12, 15% from where it was yesterday. Now, that might not be a great strategy right now because we're going to talk about what Bitcoin's doing, you know, possible reversal here. I still kind of think we're in this no one really knows what's going on phase. But no question about it, you know, price action last few days has got my attention. That's why we're here. I'm not going to get too excited. I don't get, you know, I'm not short-term trading. So I don't get too excited about short-term moves. But I don't want to get in the way of a train wreck either. And that's what we kind of talked about, you know, when it comes to my strategies and what I'm dabbling with. It's mostly just long. You know, I'm long strategies. I don't ever short Bitcoin. I could see doing some shorting or, you know, if you have some BitMEX trading, you want to hedge a position, you know, using shorting for that, absolutely. But that's just not me. That's not how I trade. I'm never looking to short Bitcoin or any kind of altcoins. I'm really only looking for long opportunities, and I'm looking for damage control. And self-admittedly did a poor job of that yesterday because I thought about taking some off yesterday. You know, when you're staring at your bags there and everything's all green and everything looks good, you know, that's always the time that I want to sell some, and I failed to do that yesterday. So, you know, now what if this thing falls through, you know, the floor here and I missed out on that opportunity? Well, that's called missed opportunities, right? Let's look at Bitcoin though, you know, kind of while we're on the subject. So this is kind of our, you know, current range, if you want to call it that. And whether or not we care to admit it, you know, pretty much everything's still affected by Bitcoin. Everything still revolves around Bitcoin. If you're in the cryptocurrency, you know, or in any of these coins, even Tezos that's been just on this nuclear run that everyone is so sure is going to, whatever number, it's still affected. They're all affected. Now, we can go look at a Tezos if you guys want to, because I know it's a popular coin, and it's actually been performing very well against Bitcoin, which is what you'd want to look at, you know, especially why the USD prices are down right now, right? So we've had 2 consecutive $1,000 sell-offs on Bitcoin. Is it alarming? Well, you know, again, I'm not going to get too excited until we start breaking, you know, supports like this 9100. But, you know, if we kind of look at some of our oscillators, the money flow and the squeeze, you know, momentum indicator and things that I normally look at on the Bitcoin daily, you know, they don't look good right now, right? So short term, we might be going to test that 9100. Now, with that being said, I'm not the only one that's looking at these charts, guys. So, you know, I don't factor retail into any of this. I don't think about the guy spending $20 to buy the dip, you know, so he can add to his Bitcoin holdings or stack his sats here or whatever, right? Everything that's happened in the last 2 months has happened because of people with 10,000 Bitcoin or more in their wallets, right? These are the larger players. People call them whales, whatever you want to call them, right? They're the ones that drive prices, right? And they're the ones that initiated this, you know, run up to sweep the kind of highs, I guess, if you want to call it that, and then just nuke this thing yesterday, right? So what does that mean? Well, that definitely means that, you know, this short-term top, right, is what it is, right? We clearly did not make another high. Had a nice candle up, and then it was just immediately rejected and forced down. Now, that does have a pretty nice wick on it, on the bottom of that from all the way down, 9,200 on this Bitfinex chart, 93, 9,200, somewhere in there. Caught a bounce up, and now we're sort of testing this 95, 9,600 range. Well, if we take just our previous support, which I'm calling 9,100, I'm sticking with that because it was a very critical range for this last move up, and we take the absolute top, this is kind of where our price range ends up being. And it's very interesting that the middle of this range, which is the mean of the range, right, is exactly 9,800, which is exactly the Fibonacci, mark from this whole move that we've been tracking from the very bottom. So, is that a coincidence? I don't think so. That's the 382 mark. Is this 9,800 level going to hold? It's acted as support. It's acted as resistance. Now it's going to be more resistance if we start traveling back up. But you'll also see, how these moves are respecting this channel. So again, I'm not going to get too excited just yet. I talked about eating retraces and, opportunity costs. And, if you can dodge some of that with a percentage, great. If you're moving in and out and you can magically wiggle around some of that stuff, great. But I'm trying not to overtrade, and, overtrade is only costing me this year. So this trend is still up as far as I'm concerned until it's not. Right? Until we start making lower lows, until we start busting through some of these supports, that's when I'll start getting a little bit more defensive and worrisome. Now, with that being said, in this daily chart that we've been looking at, kind of looks to me like, well, I don't know if this is a reversal, but it's definitely a change in market structure, which is immediately alarming, right? So, it's something we at least need to look at. It kind of started with the first top in this initial dump, which we caught, another move back up, and then clearly made a lower high, which is not what you want to see, right? That's kind of indicating more continuation downward. Most of our oscillators are also indicating that. Again, that's why we're doing this. That's why we're looking at it right now. Could this thing, actually on the momentum start being in control of more of a sell-off or a sell action? Could we be moving down to test some of these other levels? Absolutely. And again, if you're invested or if this risk of that happening concerns you, then maybe now is a good time to evaluate how much risk you have, how much weight you have associated to whatever your investments are, and what time frame you're looking at. And that should just be kind of obvious stuff. But again, what I see people fall victim to is just looking at a particular influencer, say on Twitter or something like that, and their opinion about a very narrow, focused time frame or maybe a position that they're running on, and then automatically assuming that, for one, they're right and never wrong, and then for two, right, you need to follow that. And that's not true. If anything, you need to break out from that. Start thinking on your own terms, using what works for you, keeping things simple, staying away from the noise. That's what's going to help, right? I can make a lot of arguments. I can, take sides and takes and that sort of thing. But in the end of the day, I'm here because I want to be, not because I have to be, not because I'm expecting to get rich. I mean, again, I've done very well this year. But that's with a small amount of capital because I'm willing to lose it. So you got to take this stuff for what it is, guys. I've been very clear about what's important to me when it comes to cryptocurrency and things that I look at as well. I want to see things with volume. I want to see things with utility. I want to see things that I think are actually going to entice people to use them in the future, because otherwise all this stuff really is just for speculation. And while that's fine, and I know a lot of that has been all that really cryptocurrency has offered up until now, I can see the horizon. now. I can see some of these things starting to come out. I can see these games and play them. They're tangible. I can touch them. I can use the Engine wallet. You know what I mean? I've been trading in and out of it through DeFi, if you want to call it that, decentralized finance, right? I'm using that stuff, not every day, but I obviously know we're early still, and I find it fascinating. And quite honestly, that Engine wallet's been awesome. And that's Ethereum based stuff, right? And, I'm obviously a huge Bitcoin promoter and a proponent, right? And I'm definitely pro Bitcoin. I think it has a lot of, I don't want to say if you want to call them flaws, but it has features, right, that may or may not go with certain parts of the way things work in today's world. All right, but that doesn't mean anything, right? That's even Bitcoin itself is 11 years old right now. I mean, it's just literally in the infancy stages of all of this stuff. So don't get too caught up in any of that. If you're just looking to pick up a little bit of Bitcoin here and there at whatever price, and your dollar cost averaging, you're holding it, just do it. Just do it, and don't worry about all of the gloom and doom and negativity and clout chasing and bullshit on Twitter. I'm so sick of it. I just, I can't stand it. And you notice I didn't come on here LARPing while we were making all these runs up, and everything was doing good. Guys, we talked about, buying a little engine here and there, in August last year, and nothing had changed. I bought, a total of like $500 worth back then. It was like 5 cents, and it was like 10,000 coins, and I've held that position ever since, and I've moved in and out of some of it. But, now it's down, 15% and still trading at 13 cents, guys. So have perspective. We might be in a quote unquote correction phase, or whatever you want to call this, right? It's definitely a pullback, but is it a reversal? Retrace is different. That insinuates continuation upward, right? Reversal means that this thing's going to start busting through supports, and maybe you need to start getting defensive, in my opinion. I'm not there yet. Some people are. Again, guys have questions about that, you want to talk about it. I really can't stand the stigma in the world why everyone's afraid to talk about their finances or money, because there's so many effing people in this world that are completely ignorant to it that it drives me bananas. And these are educated people, these are not dumb people, but there's this persona in the world that talking about money or your finances is something you shouldn't do. And I hate it. And I want to overcome it. And I think people should start talking about it. I think US dollars should have competition. I think government issued currencies, are not only outdated, but they actually have some, competition and will in the future. And talking about that is something that everyone should be doing. We shouldn't be ashamed of it, right? If you're in some debt and you want to talk about a budget or how you can possibly get away from that debt and, be self-sufficient and learn something and maybe benefit in the future, why is that bad? Well, why is that society's stigma? Well, it's because the powers that be don't want people talking about that. They don't want educated consumers. They don't want people, not in debt, right? Because that doesn't make them any money. That's what this is all about, right? My ultimate goal in life is to remove myself from that system, literally have myself completely debt-free and not even worried about any of those people anymore. That would be my heaven. That would be my bliss. That would be my ultimate goal. And if that's FU money or just like a certain dollar amount that you have where you can basically just say, you know what, I'm going to live off of my interest or get involved in businesses and just get away from the rat race, that's where I want to be. Now, is cryptocurrency going to take you there? Well, who knows, right? I mean, that's a big what if. I definitely wouldn't bank on it. But, at the same time, I can no longer ignore Bitcoin. I can no longer ignore that it's not part of mainstream society, even still a very small part right now. Look at what happened in 2017. That wasn't because people were buying it that actually knew what Bitcoin was, that was because of mania. And still only a fraction of the world population, have touched it or even really know what it is. It's amazing to me how many arguments I get with people that literally have no clue what it is, right? But have just quote stuff that they've heard or seen. Well, I mean, there's a flip side to that coin as well, too. I've literally offered to give people it for free, and they've treated me like I'm a drug dealer, or some sort of criminal, right? Or a scammer. And it's like, all right, I know that I've taken the wrong path on some of that stuff, but I love chatting about all of this kind of stuff, and clearly I'm passionate about it. So I'm not going anywhere, guys. I'm just settling in. Again, I haven't been streaming very much because I just don't have time right now for like any gaming. But some of that stuff will change too, and once I get kind of a better rig set up in here, we'll get involved in some of this gaming stuff, because there's a lot of really cool, just really super cool stuff out on the development landscape that literally no one knows about, and it's all this pay-to-play stuff that I think is going to be awesome. We'll see. Again, I know I'm early. I'm always early. I knew I was early, in 2016, 2017 when my friends and I started GPU mining, right? But that's why I'm here. It's all about a path, and I want my next path to be earning Bitcoin somehow, not off of people that I can help, but in some sort of way where I'm offering some benefit to other people that they're, that I can draw an income off of. So I've seen all this weird stuff, and man, just all these kind of crazy theories, and man, if I can squash some of that or make people feel a little bit more comfortable at the end of the day about any of this stuff, yeah, I don't want to become famous either. I appreciate you spamming my chat room there, but it's another thing too. A lot of clout chasers in this world looking to become famous. That's not me. I actually would prefer to be one of the ones that just flies underneath the radar and just give me my own little private island somewhere and go off the grid. I don't need a phone. I don't need a tracking device. Maybe a little internet access here and there just so I can kind of catch up with the rest of the world, but man, I think that would be cool. So let's look at some kind of shorter term things here before I get too off track. So let's look at the last time we kind of saw a pattern like this too, right? Probably right in here. And guys, again, I know I ranted, so feel free to stop me anytime, or if there's a symbol that you want to look at, or if you want me to pull up an alt chart, just type it in the chat room. But as it is right now, I'm just going through stuff I pretty much go through every day, and I definitely wanted to get some of this on video. So, the last major move, very similar to this, right, was a little bit different though, because we made a higher high, and this price action right here kind of looks like a setup to me, right? So this is the first time I've even noticed where it almost looks like the bulls were purposely trapped, right? So we purposely got to run up to sweep these highs and then literally nuke down. Now, the wick down there though indicates more of a stop run to me personally. Now, that could be off, but we're gonna have to wait and see. You can see from this last pattern though that it found support and then did retest that support before it started moving up again. So if we draw lines similar to that, right, which is kind of the last time we had something similar to this, we might be looking at, say, another dip down to 9100 here to kind of test that lower low. So you don't be surprised to see that. I'm not gonna bullshit, that's an ugly looking candle, guys. So again, that's why I'm here talking about it. I'd rather us look at it the worst than at the best time. So if there's anything, I don't get any more granular than 4 hours, guys, ever. So I'm not trading 1-minute charts or 15-minute charts. All that is just noise to me. I could give a shit less. 4 hours is a day to me in crypto world, just because I think everything's kind of exponential in crypto because it never stops trading, obviously. But that's as low a time frame as I look at. So we zoom out the daily, kind of keep those lines where we are. We're looking at this range in here as more of a support test. If we drop below this 9100 range, it could happen, and we're gonna have to wait and see. And then we'll reevaluate at that time. And that's the easiest way to say it, and that might be a cop out, but again, I think we're just in this chop kind of solidation. If you want to consolidation, where I'm just expecting this kind of short term while this works out, and that's pretty normal. I mean, look how much buying this has been. There has literally have been no selling pressure whatsoever since the beginning of the year, guys. That was the theme of this entire run up. Every time it looked like it should dump down, the powers that be started pumping this thing back up. We made support again. Right now this is different looking price action though, right? So we broke that vertical. Are we going to come down here and break this support and start moving down? That's a wait and see. And maybe we'll do another show for the weekly close on Sunday, so we can kind of see where this candle ends up. If you follow me on Twitter, remember I kind of made a post that this still looks pretty good to me, right? Even with this nasty looking candle as it looks right now on the weekly, 4 days is a lot of time in crypto. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that's when I'm gonna start looking at this. And if we start breaking support and start going back down, I'm probably not going to be interested to see where it goes, right? I'll be looking to at least pull my swing bag out. I'll make that very public, but I'm not there yet. So this candle could very easily, right, reverse back and go back into 10K by tomorrow. And, this weekend we could be screaming new highs and bull. I mean, if you've been around crypto, you've seen it, right? It is what it is, guys. So everyone has to make those evaluations and choices on their own. And clearly, I'm not going anywhere. So if I can help, or if I can look at a chart or any of that stuff, kind of give you some sort of another opinion, I'll try to be unbiased. Obviously I'm long Bitcoin, but that doesn't mean I'm realistic about short-term things. So if I look at this weekly trend, or we zoom out and look at the monthly, it's business as usual. Maybe this is some sort of retest or back test, or simply, taking profit, right? There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, what you don't want to see is something go straight up forever, because nothing ever does, right? Then the bigger the retrace is. So we'll see if Bitcoin ranges out here or not, and I'll make sure to follow that, obviously. I'm always following BitMEX. The open interest on BitMEX right now has dropped down to under $1 billion at least. It's around 927 million, which is still extremely high, guys. So there is a lot of open interests out there on the markets. BitMEX is one of them. But we were looking at a sort of Bitfinex, and you kind of saw these shorts stack up almost to hedge these positions. Now, whether or not that's just on Bitfinex or other exchanges is a guessing game, right? But I try to make things worse in my own personal investing by guessing. I try to look at facts and data. A fact yesterday, or last night, was the expiration for backed futures, which I know is coming every month, and pretty much every month there is some sort of reaction to it, and every month I fail to take some action before of it. So the next backed futures is March 19th. Put that on your damn calendar. Again, I could have easily taken some off yesterday, and I'd have been in a good position, but that's just me being honest. So now I'm sitting here looking at this, and we're just gonna go forward. FBTC has been on that run, absolutely looking gorgeous since basically I was talking shit about Udi, calling this bottom, but it without a doubt, FBTC, that correlation has made a bottom and clearly has, broken the first resistance here. Now, is it going to come back down and test or not? The weekly is indicating more upwards, which would be kind of, long-term good, I think, for the Ethereum. Short term though, the daily, might be looking to come back down to test. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, obviously, with Bitcoin price being down, that's bringing Ethereum price down. Topped out, looks like a nasty kind of double top look for Ethereum at 287. But I mean, it sounds funny even saying that, guys. It's $287. It was $150 a month ago, January 20th, guys. I mean, anyone who says that was not an opportunity to make money is just wrong. So, now people have been shorting this all the way up and getting crushed and their stops taken. Now, is that, has that changed? Is this a reversal? Are we going down? Well, that remains to be seen. If that was your strategy, I would definitely be more apt to shorting this kind of price action than this. I don't understand why people were so hard pressed to change their bias when, this is just obvious. Like, that's a change in trend, right? Now, is this a change in trend? Is it going to go back down? Well, maybe, maybe, but, I've seen an impulse move up. I've seen, this impulse move down. This looks more like consolidation to me before I'm going to start crying reversal and selling my bags and screaming the end of the world is near. That's not me. I don't do that. I never will do that. And that's not how anyone, that's scared money. That's what people that are scared do. And there's nothing wrong with taking 10% profits either. I've seen people trashing other people for, don't take your 10% profit. Well, fuck that. If you got 10% profit on the table and you want to take it, take it. Don't ever, 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 ever not take profit if you think you should. Like, that's just, that's trading 101, guys. But you don't have to sell out your whole position. You can take part of it. There's a lot of different things that you can do. With my engine coin, I've been holding more than 10,000 coins at a time, and then I've just been selling up into that. So I've been holding up to 20,000 coins. And selling portions of them up on the pumps and then trading that back into Ethereum and holding that, and that's been working out great. Now, is that going to work out long term if we're gonna change trends here? No, but that's what I've been doing. It's been very simple. I haven't been trading any high leverage. I haven't been doing anything crazy, and I haven't been taking any huge risks. There's no need to. There's no need to if you don't want to, right? Let's look at some, might as well look at ENGE real quick. This is the US dollar pair. So now we kind of, have this range here where we've been topping around 16 cents. The bottom's around 11 cents. I'm not drawing any lines on the USD pair. Still trading pretty high up as far as the money flow goes. So, I don't want to call that overbought, but we're gonna have to watch and see what happens short term with Bitcoin, because that's gonna determine a lot what happens to this. Price action has still been solid though. This continues to move up and look good, in my opinion. That's clearly an upward trend that's been that way for many months. So take that for what you will. Is now the time to buy the dip on ENGE? I don't know. That's kind of up to you. And I don't give that kind of advice or set price targets. If I do, and if I'm, in a short-term trade, I put it on Twitter. And, I haven't been doing any kind of short-term things lately. So this is one that I'll be holding and watching. And again, I have no reason to think at this point in time that this trend will not continue upwards. So short term, is it going to bleed? Is it going to take a beating? It's very possible, but I'm not trading short term, so I'm not gonna worry about that. This is kind of what the weekly looks like, which there's not much on it, but one of the lines that I found interesting on this chart, which I hadn't actually drawn before, was a trend line just kind of from the bottom and noticing where it seems to be capping out. It's almost like it has this channel now, which is interesting. That's from the very beginning of the chart, which is 2018 here. So it does seem to be rejecting off of this resistance line, if you want to call it that. You know, I don't put too much faith into that, but it is interesting how that's this whole entire Ange BTC chart is an upward trend. Not something I've noticed before. Mana with Decentraland has been popping as well. That's one I've been watching. If you haven't, you know, if you want to go mess with Decentraland, I'll do some streaming on that stuff. It's pretty cool. It's really just web browser based, so you can jump on Decentraland and make an avatar for 100 mana, which is what, 6 cents right now. So it's basically $6 to register a name. It's permanent on the blockchain. You get your little avatar and you can run around and goof around and interact with other people in a totally virtual world. It sounds crazy even when I say it, but it's here. It's real. You can go touch it. You can go play with it right now, guys. It's not bullshit. I you know, I feel stupid sometimes when I'm talking about some of this, but that's why I'm here, right? To say whatever the F I want. And this is stuff I'm involved in and I'm watching and I'm an analyst, and you know, these are trends that I am absolutely watching, and that's my job, to follow the money. So here we are looking at this shit. And I am not even going to worry about it. So let's go look at Tesla real quick, because I think, well, market opens in 7 minutes here. Wow. Yeah. So trading at $900 a share yesterday. That's just an absolutely awesome looking chart. But I would imagine that's going to eat some retrace at some point here too. It, you know, kind of did. Tested this 745 boundary. My goodness. I mean, that chart is just looks fake. But, you know, that's one we'll keep an eye on too. I've got a few shares of Tesla, but really more just stumbled into, and I've had a lot of fun with this because I just, so many people have stances on Tesla and Bitcoin. I like to razz them some point. At some point, I started using Twitter for things that I actually enjoy, which became more fun for me. Tezos, I mean, my God, you know, this thing is it's just it's got a mind of its own. It's clearly the BTC pair has made its own new high, and this is total price discovery. Is it going to come back down? You know, clearly the BTC move down has affected it, but I don't know. I don't own Tezos, guys. I wish I had. You know, maybe this $3 range is a good time to get back in. But I'm gonna leave that to you guys and all the OG LARPers out there, because I think Tezos is cool, and I get the whole staking baking thing, but again, I've got my little niche, and that's more in the gaming part of this, and I'm totally into engine, and I just I had, other than a little bit that I hold on Coinbase, you know, I'm not big into any sort of position in Tezos, but there's no question that it's a pretty remarkable looking chart. I mean, my goodness, if we just look at this year on the daily, let's see what this range looks like. So down here, wow, that's 186% in 2 months. Congratulations if you hold Tezos. I applaud you. Get my clapper up. See if we got anything on Twitter here. No major questions. Just more scared running around. Backlog. There you go, Chad. Out sub 250. All right. See, I like that. Right. Well, now some of my favorite traders too is what they're gonna look at here on Bitcoin is they're gonna say, all right, you know, I'm gonna make one last long here at 9,500 or 9,600, which I think is a good strat, right? Because I'm either gonna get stopped out at 9,200, 9,100, and that's gonna be the end of the game, and this thing going to wherever it's going, or we're going up, and I think I like that. I like that strategy, but like, you know, shorting here is the same thing as longing, you know, on the top because you get it so excited you see a green candle. That's called chasing, you know, and it doesn't matter what kind of asset you're trading. It's chasing. Chasing's chasing. Don't chase, guys. Never chase. Never, ever, ever chase. Ever. See what else we got. What do I think is that's a good question. Honestly, I mean, so what are some of the good arguments? You know, this is kind of what I like to look at both sides of the coin when I'm making any sort of decision, financial, investment, personal life, whatever. I like to look at both sides of the coin. What are some of the arguments that this is a fake pump, that this has been this Bitcoin move the last year, despite how good it looks? You know, what are some of the arguments that oppose this as being maybe fake or, you know, not likely to continue? Because if I look at this chart, right, this monthly chart, this is the monthly candle, and this looks rough right now. Now, could it continue up? Absolutely. We have, you know, several weeks, or well, maybe not that long. I guess a week left now. Short month, February, but we have literally a week and 2 days right before this candle closes. A lot can happen, and if I just look at this chart, right, if I just look at this chart right now and I put all my biases aside and everything else away, right? Am I a buyer of this chart right now? Abso-fucking-lutely, guys. Absolutely. So, you know, does it look horrible? Is it going to look worse tomorrow? It could, right? I'm not going to base my entire evaluation off this, but come on. I mean, look at the momentum, you know, the downward momentum that actually was, you know, basically squeezed this whole time on this correction, if you want to call it that, from our 14K top, right? I mean, I can't argue with that. That's what the chart's telling me. So this is just stuff I look at, you know, and now we kind of go down from there, right? This weekly looks awful, right? I mean, it looks like it topped out. Now, you know, it kind of looks like it might continue down, but it's not the end of the week yet. This candle is not done. Could it end up, you know, back up here? Could it be some sort of bullish engulfing move? Sure. Why not, right? The Gibbons show up, all of a sudden they're 50 million, you know, pushing around. I mean, since I've even been talking, right? So, you know, who knows, right? We're going to have to wait and see. And that's, those are, I mean, even right now, the 24-hour volume is four, wow, it is 4 billion on max still. That's a lot of trading, guys. It's a lot of volume. It's been a lot of people buying F. And again, it's not a lot of people, right? Because I don't think this has anything to do with retail. I don't think any of this garbage has anything to do with retail. I think most of these people moving weight around right now are in it for the long haul. I think they're in it for accumulation. And you know, those are mostly accounts with 10,000 or more Bitcoin that are making these moves right now. So you're gonna have to make inferences and make guesses about who those people are and what their interests are. Some of them are miners and whales and early adopters, but some of those are absolutely new players that are getting into this market, guys. Don't think for an effing second that there aren't people like that out there. And a good one that we're gonna look at, a good data flow, at least data set that I'm considering right now, is Square earnings. So in, I think, 6 days, Square will actually report their fourth quarter earnings from last year, and then we'll get to see a an analysis of how much Bitcoin they sold on Cash App, and I think that's a better indicator of cash flows than any of this other garbage that people are just rattling off. I mean, again, this stuff's based on no data, like no decisions whatsoever, and I don't like doing that. I like basing decisions off what I can see. Now, am I rushing out to buy this dip? That's up to you. I usually don't like buying dips without capital that's house money. I like buying, dips with house money, and I don't really have a ton of house money right now, so I'm not super excited. I'll still make my normal spot purchase on Bitcoin. I haven't been making any of those recently just because I've acknowledged the fact that this is some sort of short-term top. But again, I won't ever touch my Bitcoin bag, long-term spot bag. I don't have any plans to ever convert that into fiat until it will change my life, and we are a long way from that. But that's the ultimate goal. Sure, why not? Have some lofty goals in life, right? If you don't have goals and aspirations and plans, how do you ever improve, right? We go back to our price range here. We'll be watching that 9,800 level. It did not act as resistance, which I was kind of surprised at. So maybe that's more of a support level to watch. We'll have to wait and see. If we start breaking 9,100 and sustain a move underneath it, that's when I'm going to start saying, okay, this is starting to look like a reversal. But this could easily just be, price action again, where the people that have been making this profit on the move up are now taking their profits on the move down. It's a candle that is ugly, and we need to watch it though. We need to acknowledge it, and we will, and we'll continue to watch those sort of things. If there's any other specifics, you can look at link real quick. Let me know. Be happy to. I mean, honestly, a lot of these are going to look the same right now, right? So they're going to have sort of this toppy look. And very scammy short term. So just be careful. Haven't looked at Matic in a while. Looks like it made resistance at over 212 sats and might be going down to test something. We'll see. We'll keep one eye on that. Dragon actually was moving recently, which I have a few Dragon coins from way back when that I keep in my wallet just to remind me to sell. But I'm in no rush to sell. I mean, look at, even if you're in that chart, right? You're up a little bit. Why would you sell, down here? I mean, these are high risk, right? I don't know. That's the way I look at it. Some other interesting things that have caught my attention recently. Kyber network. So that's a nice looking chart. That's involved in a lot of the decentralized finance automated Ethereum swaps. So I think there's 3 or 4 of the major ones that are involved in the Eng wallet, which is really cool. Again, if you're into crypto at all, even if you're a hardcore Bitcoin maximalist and you end up watching this and you're like, fuck all those shit coins, Bitcoin or bust, blah, 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 blah. Get an Eng wallet. You can put Bitcoin in it. It might be an Ethereum based swap network, but man, the wallet's nice. It works well. The features are awesome. I hope that maybe a Trust Wallet or some of these other Bitcoin, more Bitcoin friendly or Bitcoin only wallets will take some of that stuff, right? That's what, I think that's what it's all about, right? I mean, that's why there's so much competition in these markets. I think it's healthy. I think it's good. I think it drives innovation, and I think it will continue to drive innovation. Anyone who says that Bitcoin has not already changed the world is either ignorant or blind. I mean, just again, I'll have that argument with anyone on the planet right now. And there's so much posturing and two-facing going on in media and celebrities, right? People that are clout chasing, people that are famous. No, that's not me. I mean, I'm if I can if I can score up a little clout and make some sort of online personality or an experience that actually benefits people, and we all win at the end of the day, then great. But again, I'm not even sure that I'd want to be famous. I know what that entails. Chili's is the reward system that is also kind of being built into Eng that we'll keep an eye on, just because they have had some involvement with sports teams, which I find interesting in. So any kind of adoption or avenues for on-ramping or that sort of thing is definitely stuff I'm going to pay attention to. And as always, stocks too. If there's anything that you're looking for a chart for, just let me know. I'd be happy to take a look at anything. I'm not doing anything short term. My view on the stock market right now, I mean, obviously there's just a ton of fake liquidity pouring into the markets right now. I say fake because clearly the Federal Reserve is pumping these markets with cash right now. That's a two-sided coin as well, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, look at this run up is just getting ridiculous now, and it's showing no signs of really faltering either. As long as they continue to inject these markets with money, this is going to continue to go up. Now, is it going to have a bad ending? Most of the time it does in history. All of a sudden now we have an entire generation of people who think that the stock market only goes up. I mean, what could possibly go wrong with that, right? I don't know. The other side of that coin is, guys, they have unlimited cash. They can keep pumping this if they really don't care what the value of the dollar is, and people are getting rich. No one's going to complain, right? No one's going to come out of the woodwork and say, no, don't pump my 401k or my retirement account. So, again, I take everything with a grain of salt. I've definitely exposed to these markets. I'm not going to worry about anything short term. I don't plan on retiring anytime soon. I wish, I could, and I would like to make some moves maybe that would allow me to retire, or at least enter some sort of position where I'm in control of my time and not renting it out. Because if you really want to get rich, guys, the adage, they say it's not necessarily about how much money you have. It's like, are you in control of your own time? Normally, you're not going to get loaded by renting out your time to an entity. But that doesn't mean you can't be a consultant or do something on your own. And that doesn't mean you can't become wealthy by working for a company either. So there's always exceptions, and I don't deal with absolutes, guys. I let ignorant people deal with absolutes. Square has clearly broken that trend, since everyone told me that it was overvalued. Well, yeah, that's probably going to continue, right? Again, they'll report their earnings very soon, and I'll be all over that. Let's see what this story actually says about it. The expectations are very high for Square right now, but the Bitcoin connection is what I'm even more interested in. I don't hold a position on Square. I did, as an analyst, call that a buy, and of course was right again. Pat myself on the back on that one again. Yeah, that's really it. So I think that was a good capture. Overall, we're gonna do a wait and see, and we're gonna look at this crazy Bitcoin more on a zoomed out. We're not gonna get too caught up in the short term. If we do start to see more of a continuation move down, that weekly candle too was a real just kick in the pants, wasn't it? This weekly candle closed with almost no wick on top, indicating that more of a likely continuation was up, and we did get it. Just a brutal rejection at 10.55. Now that is clearly a line of interest, right? And probably what a lot of negativity and bearish bias could be. It's not a great look, so I'm not going to pretend that it is. But we'll take a look at all of this together. And again, if you like this, if there's anything you want to comment, shoot me a tweet about. I'd be happy to look at it. Any content you want for a future show, anything specifically you want to look at. If there's any of the engine blockchain games that you want me to showcase or look at, I'm happy to make a small investment just to start playing those, because I love supporting independent developers. I look at all of this from a higher level than a lot of people do. And I support peer-to-peer transactions because I'm tired of middlemen making money off of people that don't belong in there. Right, and they've diluted the gaming industry to the point where it's literally completely watered down right now. This stuff can absolutely change gaming, and don't think for a second that it can't. Now, will it catch on and take on mainstream? Well, that remains to be seen, and that's going to definitely take time. It's very early, but I'm not gonna not pay attention to it. So the Forgotten Artifacts, are more of like the polished games that you can play right now. But there's like Disillusion and a lot of these other games that are first-person shooters. The RPG games that are coming out look really cool, and I'm not quoting them all off the top of my head right now, but I'm gonna look at all of those. So settle in, guys. Don't be in any hurry. Take a deep breath. Make some evaluations. Enjoy some of this stuff, make a login for Decentraland and go goof around in there, right? See what that's all about. Explore for yourself, push buttons. If you want to buy a few tokens or buy a little Bitcoin here and there and hold it, great. If you don't, then don't. Don't worry about it. Don't stress out. There's nothing to worry about. There's literally, again, unless you're overexposed, right? If you're up at night and this thing is causing you stress in your personal life, if your wife is fixing to divorce you, then maybe you need to reevaluate some of your choices. But otherwise, stay the course, party on, have fun with it. God, if you can't have fun with crypto, you're definitely just paying attention to the wrong people, because again, you got to remove the noise, because there's so many amazing, smart, awesome, talented people from all walks of life doing all kinds of different things with all kinds of interests and projects, and you don't have to look very hard to see that. So one of the quotes from somebody I follow on Twitter that I actually really liked is, it's a shame that most of the noise gets drawn to those voices instead of the people that are still around and have been in Bitcoin and this cryptocurrency stuff for the last several years and will continue to be in the future. But they're not the clout chasers. They're not the people looking to get famous. They're the people that just enjoy it and are passionate about it and want to use vehicles that can provide some positive change for the future. Computers don't have to be used against us, guys. They don't have to be used for tracking and control and things that they are used for today, like data mining, and just literally spying on everyone. I mean, we haven't really talked about that, but I'd be happy to talk about that stuff too. You know, we've been involved in projects, and you can see things, and those are very tangible. You know, every cell phone tower in the United States tracks every single user. Uh, you're not in control of that. The government is, right? If you're in the United States, the Patriot Act, you know, basically gives them permission to do whatever they want. There's some database out there somewhere that the NSA is holding that probably literally has every keystroke you've ever made on anything on the internet. Don't think for a second that they don't have that stuff, guys. That, you know, it might be horrifying to think about in those kind of terms, but unless you start caring about it and start partnering together with people like me and other people who actually understand that, right? None of that's going to change. It's going to continue to get worse. Okay. So, you know, if you don't think that's really happening, or you just want to turn a blind eye to it, right, or stick your head in the sand and pretend that that's not where the future's heading, good luck to you. You know, I don't hold you personally. I'm not looking. You know, I'm not asking anyone to be a hero, but at the same time, let's not pretend like that's not actually going on right now. And you know, Bitcoin has some of that tracking feature built into it. So it's not the savior for, you know, removing all of that veil. I mean, is it as it is right now, right? That's some of the fun arguments I make with people when they're like, oh, you know, Bitcoin's used for drug traffickers and people looking to launder their money and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, really? Well, how many, you know, money launderers do you know that have been literally using Bitcoin to launder money? Because it's a permanent transaction on a blockchain that literally everyone in the entire planet can see. Now, there are ways to use cryptocurrency to wash money or launder it and that sort of thing, but the closed-minded mentality and understanding of, or lack of understanding of what it actually means is rampant, right? I mean, we're talking about a fraction of 1% of all the money laundering in this world would be done with cryptocurrency. And I can say that with 100%, you know, honesty, and I don't have the math to back up that validation, but I can pretty much guarantee you it's something insanely low like that. I mean, the entire market cap of all of cryptocurrency is a couple $100 billion right now. I'd be willing to bet that a couple $100 billion a month gets laundered through our banks today, through the quote unquote, you know, federal system that we have in place today that is quote unquote fair and law abiding and has consumer protection, you know, laws built into it. Because you all know, you know, this is not your first rodeo. If you're following me, you know, you can even understand some of my garble, you know for a fact that consumer protection laws are not designed to protect any consumers, and they sure as F don't, right? They're designed to protect entities and corporations and the people that are actually controlling things today. So how do we get away from that stuff? Well, people have to start interacting with each other, right? Peer-to-peer transactions is definitely one way to do that. Right? Cutting out that middleman, removing the need for government issued currencies and borders and boundaries. You know, that's what's interesting. That's what's I think people are missing. You know, and even some people that are holding crypto, I think that are missing because they're just buying these tokens or, you know, wanting to hold something because number go up. Well, you know, if that's all you're interested in, you're looking to make a couple of bucks, you know, that's fine too. There's nothing wrong with that as long as that is your goal and you know what you're working towards and you're not losing money, then great, right? But I'm looking to this more large scale. You know, I'm more interested in actually using these things to drive change, to kind of watch some of this experience change, to hopefully, you know, watch the user experience change, because I agree with some of the bears, you know, or the people, the proponents against Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And I truly believe that the next wave of adoption, if you want to call it that, or people that are getting involved with this stuff and that are actually going to touch it, is going to have to be people that are actually using it or interested in some sort of feature that this provides that may not be somewhere else, right? We've got a long way to go to get to that. And you and I both know that most people are followers. They're only going to follow trends. They're only going to follow what their friends are doing. They're only going to follow what their Xbox clan is doing. You know, But at the same token, if you're a longtime gamer like me and you've been around forever, you just know in your heart of hearts right now that the entire gaming industry is just stale. And I don't mean that with any disrespect if you're in the industry or you're a developer, but if you are and you work for a corporation, you know what the fuck I'm talking about. You know it, because I come from that arena. That is my wheelhouse, right? Dealing with corporations and the people that are actually driving some of these executive decisions, right? And outsourcing and cost cutting and development in these major companies. A lot of similarities out there, guys. So that's a good stopping point. I think a good segue to make. I love talking about business. I love talking about the future. I love putting real definitions on some of this bullshit stigma and, digital and buzzwords like digital and fintech and all this other garbage, right? I like actually talking about what that stuff is. And I am not a developer, but I work with a lot of developers and I respect people that write code. That's not my wheelhouse, but I kind of know where my lane is, and my lane is thinking outside the box. My lane is using my tools that I have available, my resources to build things, right? To go places, to move outside the box and make things better. And I'm the first one to admit that in my personal life, working for some companies, that's been very, very difficult at times because of the status quo, because of people genuinely not wanting things to change, right? And that's a dangerous place to be in. And not only from a company standpoint, but from a personal life. I think stagnation and, anytime you get complacent, bad things are going to follow. So it's a good place to stop. Again, thank you for joining me. We'll hit the ending here soon. I've got some time at the end of the month that I'll probably look to involve in some games, but it's really just more about having free time, and I want to make sure that I don't do conflict between some of what I have going on right now. So thank you again very much for joining me. Take care. We'll see you next time, and wherever you are in the world, I hope you have a great day or a great evening. Take care.